and welcome to tonight's Planning Committee of the 14th of January 2026. The first item on the agenda, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies? Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I have apologies from Councillor Etheridge, and I'm subbing for him.
Thank you. Councillor Mandrakis.
Apologies from Councillor Bowen, and I'm subbing for her.
Thank you. Councillor Williams. Thank you. And Councillor Shocker.
Yeah, apologies from Councillor Hamilton. I'm subbing in for her.
Thank you. Right. Item 2 on the agenda. I can confirm that there are no late items which do not appear on the main agenda. Item 3. Do any members have any disclosable pecuniary interests or other significant interests? Councillor Filmer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Declare an interest in item 4 and number 5, both for the same reasons. I live in that road. My house is very close to item 5, and I have land adjacent to item 4, so I'll leave the meeting.
Thank you. Before moving on to the main part of the agenda, Councillor Croser has asked to speak as ward member for agenda item 5 and Councillor Pearce for agenda items 4, 6 and 7. Is this agreed by members? Agenda item 4, planning application for Phipps and Croft. Just wait a few minutes for Councillor Filmer to leave. Right, Peter Hockney, Service Manager, will be presenting this application. So over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This application site, as you can see on the screen, outlined in red, is a piece of land to the side and rear of Phipps and Croft, which is the property located here. It's on Charnel Street, close to the roundabout that goes on to Ratcliffe Highway. You can see from the photographs of the site the surroundings to the site and where the existing access point is that would be widened and would serve new development on the site. Again, you can see from these photographs that it's predominantly greenfield paddocks in use for the keeping of horses. And here is the aerial photograph of the site, and you can see that's the site that I'm outlining with the pointer on the screen. Now, the proposal for consideration tonight is in outline form, but is for the erection of 9 dwellings. You can see the layout shown here. In terms of the matters for consideration, the matters of appearance and landscaping are reserved, but other matters are for consideration. Here is the layout that you can see again with the cul-de-sac style development, predominantly detached dwellings with a pair of semis behind Phipps and Croft. The area to the rear here will be maintained as open land and landscaped with a pond feature to the rear. The house types can be seen on this slide, which show how the different styles of dwellings will fit within the layouts of the properties. So there will be a mix within the site, but with some of the dwelling types replicated throughout the scheme. Now, as you will know from your experience of dealing with such applications, the site is outside of any settlement boundaries. It's located in in a relatively separated rural area. So in terms of accessibility to surrounding facilities, employment, education, etc., and healthcare. So there's a high reliance on the private vehicle in terms of movements. In addition, as you would have seen from the photographs, if I just go back to those, it's a sort of very rural character in terms of the site. It's predominantly green field, save for the small stable buildings. So the introduction of built form within this would have a harmful impact on the rural character and appearance of the area. So as members obviously are very used to examining the planning balance of such applications, that harm has to be weighed against the benefits of new development, new dwellings, particularly in the position that the council finds itself in without a 5-year land supply, and that the benefit of housing does have to be given significant weight in that. But when we've considered that balance in exercise as officers, the consideration is that the harm of the location for new dwellings and their occupants, combined with the harm to the rural character and appearance of the area, and the impact of that on that verdant character, is not outweighed by the benefits of 9 dwellings towards the supply or the associated benefits that come with new residential development. And therefore, the recommendation before members tonight is one of refusal. I would just like to point out the supplementary agenda item, which talks about the second reason for refusal on the impact on the Thames Estuary and Medway Estuary special protection area. And there is a Section 106 unilateral undertaking that has been submitted, but it's not yet in a final and agreed version, which is why that second reason for refusal is retained for members' consideration tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. I now move over toward Member Councillor Pearce, who will have 5 minutes to speak. Just wait for him to come over.
Thank you, Chairperson. I won't need all 5 minutes. This is a quick one from me, which you'll be pleased to know. And thank you, committee, for letting me speak. So the first reason for refusal, I completely agree with. I won't dwell on that at all. What I wanted to highlight on this item was reason for refusal number 2, which is concerning the habitats. As members will know, the peninsula has a lot of internationally and nationally protected habitats. The applicant here hasn't yet supplied the information required to carry out something called an appropriate assessment, which assesses that impact. So it's in planning speak, it's unsafe to it's unsafe to approve it because we don't know how this application will impact our wildlife. And also they haven't made payment to, members will be aware of Birdwise, they haven't made that payment to that yet. So for that simple technical reason, I think the recommendation is absolutely correct. This can't be approved because it would also send quite a dangerous precedent. It would set a dangerous precedent for a lot of applications which could come forward. It will basically tell those applicants that you don't have to care about habitats, you don't have to care about making Birdwise payments if this was approved tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. I now go over to members. Any members? Councillor Golvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to go along with the officer's recommendation for refusal. The site is not in a sustainable location. It would only make a very small contribution to our housing numbers. It's not got any affordable element. And reading the officer's report, the recent appeal decisions would indicate that the appeal would not be supported by an inspector. So I'm quite happy to go along with refusal. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Likewise, I do know this area fairly well, driving down that road quite a bit, and I agree with what the officer's saying there about transport, about the effect on the character of the area and it not being sustainable development. And also, as the Councillor Pearce touched on, it fails to address the protection areas of the Thames Estuary and marshes and the Medway marshes. So I will agree with the recommendation of the officer for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? No? So with all the comments made, I agree with you all as well, that it will have a harmful effect on the rural character of the area. It's not sustainable, like everyone said, so therefore I will be going with the officer's recommendation of refusal. So I now move over to Vice Chairperson, Councillor Jones.
Thank you very much, Chair. Phipson Cross, Charnel Street, High Housetow, Rochester. Recommendation is refusal, grounds 1 and 2 as set out in the report. I so move.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Yep. Thank you. So those for the officer's recommendation of refusal. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Right, those against? No. Okay, the application is therefore refused. So now we move over to agenda item 5, planning application 2 Acre Farm. Aaron Nichols, senior planner, will be presenting this application. So over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start my presentation, can I just draw members' attention to the supplementary agenda for the inclusion of 2 conditions requiring the submission of further details in relation to refuge and foul water. This application seeks part retrospective planning consent for the extension of the existing 2-acre farm Gypsy and Traveller caravan site to facilitate an additional 8 pitches, 12 caravans and a day room, and the application has been brought to committee as a result of an objection from the parish council. This slide shows the site location with the site outlined in red. And here we have the site in relation to the wider context with Charnel Street to the west, Ratcliffe Highway and Fen Street to the north, Ropers Green and Pembroke Road to the south. This slide here shows you the current existing permitted site, which is outlined in blue here, and then the wider site outlined in red. And here is a site plan of the existing site. And here are some wider views. So image 1 gives you a view from Pembroke Road towards the east, with image 2 providing a view towards the east along Pembroke Road and Ropers Green Lane, and images 3 and 4 providing views towards the west along Pembroke Road. So the application seeks to use the existing 2 vehicular access points to the site, which image 1 showing the western access road and image 2 the eastern access road. The access roads are considered sufficient in terms of vehicular visibility displays and allow for safe access and egress from the site, and as advised, a condition is included requiring the submission of further details in relation to the materials of the surfacing. This provides some views from the site. And this shows the proposed layout. The proposed layout contains 8 individual plots, and across those are 12 mobile homes, 24 parking spaces, and a day room, which are to be provided specifically for the use of Gypsy and Traveller accommodation. As part of the proposal, the scheme features the provision of a day room. This is a replica of the day room permitted and constructed on the existing site, which I showed you earlier, outlined in blue. The plans proposed for the day room are shown on the left and the constructed day room on the right. As outlined in the report, there are no highways issues associated with the proposal, and the proposed site is considered to be in a suitable location for travellers' accommodation, located close to amenities, but is also suitably distanced to allow for occupants to maintain privacy. The current occupants are considered to comply with the definitions of gypsy and travellers, and as set out in the report, the last assessment undertaken in 2024 identified the need for 56 gypsy and traveller pitches across Medway, and in 2025, 15 pitches have been granted. Due to the fact the site is in a sustainable location and does not detrimentally cause harm to the neighbouring residential properties, it is considered the site is suitable as a permanent site for travellers and is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions outlined in the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. We'll now go over towards member Councillor Croser, who will have 5 minutes to speak once he's ready.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I make this representation this evening primarily to highlight the concerns raised by several neighbouring properties, concerns that have been voiced to the Parish Council, to myself and to fellow ward councillors. Madam Chair, access to this site is restricted via Pembroke Road and Ropers Green Lane. Pembroke Road is a narrow lane with no formal passing places. It has proven extremely difficult to manoeuvre mobile homes onto the site, and we have already witnessed occasions this year when the road has been blocked for significant periods due to units becoming stuck during delivery. Furthermore, Madam Chairman, Ropers Green Lane, which runs from the junction with Ropers Lane in Hoo to Pembroke House at the rear of Charnel Street, is for the most of its length little more than a dirt track, which receives very little attention and maintenance from Medway at this eastern Charnel Street section end. Madam Chair, should the committee be mindful to approve the application this evening, I request a condition requiring Medway Council to undertake a full review and repair of Ropers Green Lane to the rear of Charnel Street to ensure it can withstand and is adequate for the additional traffic. Madam Chair, the current plans submitted by the applicant make no provision for the storage or collection of domestic waste on site. Currently, residents are forced to deposit waste at the top of Pembroke Road at the Charnel Street junction. This communal collection point regularly becomes unsanitary, with local wildlife scattering refuse from sacks left overnight. This is particularly unsightly and very often encourages fly tipping. And that fly tipping there has occurred twice in the last couple of months. The additional of more residents will only exacerbate this environmental health issue, and I request a further condition to be applied, ensuring that the applicant provides a proper on-site waste storage facility, and I would strongly urge Medway Council to implement curbside collections to each of these properties in Pembroke Road and Charnel Street, so that this single unhygienic collection point can be disposed of. Finally, I note with concern that the applicant has stated the method for foul water treatment is unknown. Despite officers' report recommending approval, I see no provision for how sewage will be handled. Approving a development without a confirmed drainage strategy is a risk that we should not take. Madam Chair and members, if you are to approve this today, I ask for the conditions regarding the road repair and waste management to be applied strictly. Additionally, I would request that the Pembroke Road street sign be amended to read leading to Ropers Green Lane to assist delivery drivers and other people who frequently miss this small section of lane. Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Croser. I now move over to members. Any members? Councillor Kemp. Sorry, your microphone's not on.
That's it. Oh, we're here. Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. I wish to oppose this application for a further 8 pitches accommodating 12 caravans and chalets on this site, and I would like to cite 5 reasons. First, the planning history is clear. Consent was granted in 2003 and 2004 for 4 caravans. Since then, 15 additional caravans and chalets have been placed on the site without apparent permission. This is a flagrant breach of the original consent. To now ask for 8 more is not an application in good faith, but an attempt to regularise and expand unlawful development. Secondly, the claimed use of the site is inconsistent with the basis on which permission was originally granted. I have evidence that 1 3-bedroom chalet and 3 2-bedroom chalets are being openly advertised for rent on the social media at £800 per week, including utilities. This is not a traveller's site in the traditional sense. It is a commercial rental operation. This distinction matters because planning policy treats traveller accommodation differently from general residential or commercial use. Third, the site lacks basic infrastructure. The access road is a single track and is too narrow to permit access for large lorries. There are no sewerage facilities, and this contravenes Local Plan Policy H13, paragraph 6. There is no provision for waste disposal. To permit further caravans and chalets in these conditions would compound existing public health risks and environmental harms. Fourth, further evidence that the access road is too narrow, accessing the site for delivery of chalets has already caused extensive and deliberate damage to an ancient oak tree on the site. This is not only an environmental loss, but also a breach of the Council's duty to protect heritage and biodiversity assets. Allowing further expansion would risk further degradation of the natural environment. And finally, enforcement has been conspicuously absent. Residents have lodged countless complaints over the years, yet the Council has reprehensively not acted to uphold its own planning decisions by choosing not to employ sufficient enforcement officers. Granting this application would reward non-compliance and undermine confidence in the planning system. It would send a message that rules can be ignored without consequence. So members, this committee has a duty to uphold planning law, protect residents and safeguard our environment. This application fails on all counts, and I urge you to refuse it firmly and to press for enforcement of the existing breaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just saying it was interesting listening to the comments of the local councillor, Councillor Crozier, and Councillor Kemp, some of the things I didn't really know myself. Also, there's a strong letter from the parish council objecting to this as well. But there seems to be problems with restricted access down the narrow road, and also with waste disposal. And I've come across this myself out there. The waste disposal popped on the end of the road, and it is causing an environmental health hazard. Also, I think it's a bit overdevelopment for the site, and I think the neighbours have got a loss of amenity to the local neighbours because the close proximity of the site. But so I've got very concerns over this application, and also I don't know, are the officers visiting this site next week? Is that correct? Somebody has said that the officers are visiting next week this site. No. I've been misinformed then, but I have got my concerns about this site, so I will not be supporting the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Did any officers want to come in now? Aaron?
Thank you, Chair. Just on we will be visiting the site next week as part of our Gypsy and Travel account.
The application, Chair, is part of the travel account for the whole borough, not just for this site.
Oh, right. It's for the whole borough. They're doing account.
Could you clarify that, sir? I missed that. They are visiting the site.
Not to do with the application. It's they're visiting all Gypsy traveller sites.
Oh, right. Lovely. Thanks for that. Thanks for clarifying that for me.
It's okay. Yeah, sorry, did you?
Shall we
Do more? Yeah, yeah. Councillor Shocker, did you want to come in now?
Thank you, Chair. Having reviewed the officer's report, I'm satisfied that the application represents a well-considered and policy-compliant extension to the established Gypsy Traveller site at 2 Acre Farm. This is not a speculative development. The family have lived on that land for over 20 years, and the site already benefits from long-standing planning permission. What is before us today is a modest, logical extension that allows the wider family to remain together in line both with their cultural needs and national planning policy. Importantly, the proposal meets the criteria of policy H13 on the Medway local plan. The site is close to essential services, it is physically contained, it does not harm agricultural land or neighbouring amenities. The officer's report is clear the nearest dwelling is over 100 metres away and there's no significant impact has been identified. We can't ignore the wider policy context here. Medway has identified a shortfall in Gypsy and Traveller pitches, confirmed in the most recent GTAA assessment. The previous administration completely ignored the need for the GRT community in Medway, hence the situation we're at and the impacts on their inequalities across Medway. I find it quite funny, some of the comments coming over that side, but I'm not going to go into that too much now. Now there's some concern on the planning policy from traveller sites requires us to address this need positively. In 2020, a need of 78 pitches between 2022 and 2040 was identified. The immediate need in the first 5 years, from 2022 to 2027, as the report states, is 49 pitches. Though there is a revised study in 2024 calculating 22 fewer pitches, it's felt from those specialised in GRT planning that there is an unidentified need. There is an unidentified need that's not been taken into account, including those who are living in bricks and mortar, as well as those known caravan undercounts. So the number of pitches is in fact higher, something that needs to be assessed robustly. We in 2026 are well short of the target. So windfall sites like these are very helpful, however, shouldn't be taken for granted or make up the differing need for the GRT community in Medway. I understand work is still underway to ensure all communities in Medway are treated in adherence with the Equality and Human Rights Act. So this application directly contributes to meeting that obligation. Concerns raised by the parish council have been addressed through the conditions covering waste, landscaping, commercial activities, which I don't think you have any proof of over there. You can state it, but I think you need to substantiate it with some proof of commercial activities. If you have it in your pocket, yeah, okay. And vehicle restrictions. Highways officers raised no objections. The access arrangements remain unchanged and safe. The applicant has already secured and required the SAM's contribution for bird mitigation. The design is appropriate. The landscaping will enhance the screening and the day room follows national guidance for essential amenity provisions. In planning terms, the harm is minimal, but the benefits, both socially and policy driven, are very clear here, that they are big considerations for this. For these reasons, in line with the officer's recommendation, I believe this is a sustainable, proportionate and justifiable proposal. I would therefore be supporting the approval.
Thank you. Councillor Hammond-Shea.
Thank you for that. My opinion and my view regarding this application is born out of the priorities in terms of the recommendations. It's quite clear from the objections that we've heard tonight that there's no adequate provisions for waste disposal. And there's something to be said about ignoring that within the recommendations. I think it's quite right that Gypsy Traveller sites uphold the highest standards for health and safety, well-being, and that includes waste disposal. By not including that in the recommendation at present, it sends the wrong message. You know, I think I'm with my colleague on to my right here that the it meets all the other statutory conditions. However, I would make the assertion that there needs to be recommendations put in place for the adequate disposal of sewage, septic tank material within that, so that we know the site is clean and habitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments, Chair. As colleagues will be aware, this is a part retrospective application and we have to treat it on its merits as if it were a fresh application. So that is the legal position as I understand it. I see that the officers have added a couple of additional recommendations on refuge storage and surface water drainage, and I'll be moving these. The only other thing I wanted to say, the local member has raised some issues about the state of the road and signage. I would have thought that outside of this planning process, the Chief Planning Officer could pass these on to the Highway Authority. I wouldn't have thought that we would want to be putting additional recommendations onto this planning permission.
Thank you. Councillor Golvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I fully accept the principle that we need to provide suitable accommodation for travellers. I've got no problem with that at all. But there has been a lot of disquiet from local residents in the area about this, and that needs to be dealt with. In fact, I was going to ask about drainage and refuse arrangements, but I'm pleased to see the officers in the supplementary agenda have included that. I worry that as this is already partly retrospective, to ensure that this site doesn't get overcrowded, the only way I will support it this evening, if there's a condition that it is limited to the 12 that it's been applied for. Without that limit, I'm afraid I can't support it, because these things are extremely difficult to enforce, and when it is enforced, it often gets very emotionally tied up. So there must be a clear understanding from the word go that 12's the number, and that's all that will be allowed on the site. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Aaron, did you want to come in on that?
Thank you, Chair. It's right if I'll cover off a few of the questions that have been asked. So in regards to the refuse and the waste questions, conditions 9 and 10 have been included, which will basically require the submission of further details, which should satisfy those issues. In regards to limiting it to 12 caravans, condition 4 limits it to no more than 12 caravans as defined in the Caravan Sites and Control of Development Act 1960 and 1968. In regards to kind of the condition of the road, as Councillor Jones has kind of said, Dave can speak with that. We can't really burden this applicant for land outside of their ownership. From all the information that's been submitted from a planning perspective, from making a planning decision, the information has been submitted and we are satisfied that the people that are living there and propose to live there meet the requirements set out and are confirmed as gypsy and travellers.
Sorry, Councillor Gilbourne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm fairly neutral about the application overall, because on the face of it, it seems appropriate and seems to fit with the current policy to provide suitable accommodation for the GTR community. But my concerns are, yes, about the waste and also the access, but also Councillor Kemp's observations that from 2003, when 4 caravans were given permission, how much it's grown since then, and there seems to be an apparent lack of permission being sought since then. I just wanted to ask the officers whether this application addresses all those non-compliance in the past.
Aaron, did you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. So my understanding, so the non-compliance we've had previous, obviously, on the site to the front that was outlined in blue, there was a day room constructed there and some other kind of changes. Their applications have since been made to basically rectify those and make them approved. In regards to the site, I'm aware, obviously, there are some units on site. Myself and our enforcement officer have visited the site previously, and that's why the application, is taking a bit further to come along, and then why there's been some changes to the application site, and that's why it's part retrospective. One thing I will come back on as well, I think it was Councillor Kemp raised issues in regards to some impact on the biodiversity, on the environment. Condition 7 requires basically the hedges and trees and things to be planted as set out, as you can see in this plan here. So we have taken that consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Shocker, did you have your hand up earlier?
Yeah, it was just on what Aaron said. So just to be clear then, for Councillor Goldwyn's perspective, is that the condition is there for 12 caravans, where Mr. Councillor Goldwyn's concern is obviously the enforcement of that if there was more than 12. So that kind of falls outside of what we do here, but I agree on that. But there's definitely a condition there already for 12.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave, do you want to come in?
Chair, thank you very much. I just wanted to come back on a few things that have been mentioned. I think it's right, as Councillor Shokar and others have said, in terms of adding additional conditions there which cover waste disposal. I think that's absolutely appropriate for that. And then the foul and surface water drainage, it's absolutely appropriate that an additional condition is attached in relation to that, to deal with that on site, because they can't connect to mains there, I wouldn't have thought, so they'll need to find another way to deal with that, septic tank, cesspit, or whatever, but it's right that we have that control to protect the amenities. So Councillor Crozer, absolutely right to raise those. There are a couple of other things I wanted to just touch on. There was a question about whether the people on here are actually Gypsy and Travellers, whether the future occupiers will be Gypsy and Travellers. What I can say, because I've been around a long time in this area, I remember meeting the applicant on the adjacent site here about 35 years ago, and he is absolutely a Gypsy and Traveller, and his family has expanded since then. So I can personally advise that he absolutely, him and his family are absolutely Gypsy and Travellers. And as Aaron has said, my officers have been on site, have met the people on there, and they are convinced that they meet the requirement of policy. But notwithstanding that, condition 3 says the site shall not be occupied by persons other than Gypsies and Travellers. So that's an enforceable condition for us. Aaron has touched on the 12 caravans. And then there was a comment about the fact that it's retrospective, the fact that there was contentions that residents around had contacted officers about breaches of planning control, and we'd done nothing. That's not true. Absolutely, the residents have raised concerns with us, quite rightly so. We have acted on that. And as Aaron has said, in relation to the existing site, we've dealt with that in the previous years to regularise that. It's unfortunate that what's happened on the application site is part retrospective, but my officers have been on site and have worked very closely and carefully with the applicants to deliver the scheme that's before you, which we feel represents a significant improvement over what currently is on site, with the additional conditions that Aaron has touched on. And then finally, members, that you've seen it in the report, we have a huge Gypsy and Traveller need in Medway, maybe not as much as our other boroughs, but we've got to deal with that. We've got to find sites for them. Councillor Shoker has highlighted some of the difficulties we've got in terms of numbers. One of the things that we need to look at is where families are growing. Can we accommodate that expansion on sites or close proximity to there, so they can continue to live as a family? That's exactly what we've done here. So members, I hope that Aaron's report and Aaron's response there, with the additional conditions that are there and recommended. And I would advocate the recommendation for approval, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Williams.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for that clarity. I've just, will the conditions on the waste disposal yeah, the waste, we're there. Waste disposal and sewage and that, will that be a condition before they put more, yeah. Oh. Bloody. Before they put the more homes on the site, will the conditions be, would they have to put that in before the new homes go on the site? Thank you.
Okay, Aaron, did you want to come in on that?
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, the conditions are prior to occupation, so it will be required before further occupation. Yep. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp, did you have your hand up? Oh, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, just point of clarification. I'm a bit concerned with the fact that, well, whilst I accept the need for families to stick together, is that reconcilable with the fact that some of these chalets are being offered for rent on the open market via social media?
Chair, what I'm saying on that is that there is a condition, condition 3, which says the site shall not be occupied by persons other than gypsy and travellers. So we are investigating that allegation that they have been advertised. But there is an enforceable condition on here in terms of occupation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? No. Okay. So, as has been said, we've got a shortage of traveller sites in Medway, and I believe that we would lose at appeal if this was to go to appeal because we're not providing land for them. It's a long-established family on this site where more pitches are needed to accommodate the growing family, so therefore I will be supporting this application. And we'll now move over to Vice Chair Councillor Jones.
Thank you very much, Chair. 2 Acre Farm, Ropers Green Lane, High Houstow, Rochester. Recommendation is approval with conditions. Conditions 1 to 8 set out in the report, and conditions 9 and 10 are set out in the supplementary agenda. In terms of the issues about the neighbouring road surface and signage raised by the local member, the Chief Planning Officer, to refer these to the Highway Authority. I so move. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Thank you. Those for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those against? Oh, sorry, I didn't realise. I wasn't with it. The application is therefore approved. Now we're going to move on to, no, we need to get Councillor Filmer back in the room. Right, so now moving on to someone. Oh, hold on. All right, we'll just wait a minute. Okay, right, now we're going to move on to agenda item 6, planning application for land adjacent of Kingsnorth. Amy Shardlow, Senior Planner, will be presenting this application. So over to you, Amy.
Thank you, Chair. As members may recall, this application was previously brought to committee in September 2025. It relates to the land adjacent to Kings North, which is located on Charnel Street in High Houstow. It is for 2 dwellings as an outline application, and the site is outlined in red as shown. The application at the time was granted subject to securing a Section 106 in regards to the dwellings being self-builds. As a reminder, I'm just going to flick through the previous plans. This is the site location, showing the site outlined in red. Here are some photos of the site. This was the indicative site layout, showing the 2 dwellings. Some elevations, the floor plans. And this slide just shows the existing patterns of development within the area. It shows the recent Fisherwood refused application where the appeal was dismissed, the Hollies which were approved, Toilers Croft which was approved, and as Pete presented earlier, I'm just going to try and hover the mouse. This was the site that was presented first. Following the resolution to approve, the applicant unfortunately confirmed they're unable to undertake the development as self-build units, and therefore we needed to reassess the planning balance. Following review of this change, it was determined that on the balance, the application would be unacceptable within this rural location without the self-build element, and therefore, for the reasons set out within the planning report, the application is now recommended for refusal. Thank you, members.
Sorry, thank you, Amy. Now we move over to Ward Member Councillor Pearce, who will have 5 minutes to speak once he's ready.
Thank you, Chairperson. This is Kings North, not the former power station. This is Charnel Street, just for the record, if anyone's wondering. Yeah, so a short one for me on this one. So I agree with refusal number 1, which is similar to the other Charnel Street application this committee refused earlier this evening, and also similar reason number 3, reason for refusal number 3, that is pretty much the same as the other application, because this application, as things stand, it hasn't assessed the impact on habitats. We don't know what that impact will be, and therefore the only safe course of action is to refuse it on that ground. And also no birdwise payment, etc. Where this one is slightly different is that biodiversity net gain. So when it was 2 self-build properties, there was no requirement for biodiversity net gain. Because it's now 2 dwellings, there is a requirement for, a legal requirement, statutory requirement for 10% BNG. So that's why you've got the 3rd reason for refusal there as well. So as I said before, regardless of the merits of the application, what we think about it, there are planning technicalities there where it doesn't comply, and therefore it has to be refused because it would set a precedent and potentially tell other applicants in the future that you don't have to care about habitats, you don't have to care about BNG. So this has to be refused. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. I'll now go over to members. Any members? Councillor Golvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with the officer's recommendation. As these are no longer self-built dwellings, then the weight must go back to the sustainability and countryside issues, which changes the balance to refusal. And to be honest, 2 extra dwellings isn't going to make much difference to our housing numbers either. So that is not anyway a strong argument. So I'm happy to go along with the refusal.
Thank you. Any other member? No. So I also agree with the officers that this should be refused, and councillors have also said the same as well due to the biodiversity to net gain. No bird mitigation. It's a rural isolated site that is unsustainable. So now go over to Vice Chair Councillor Jones.
Thank you very much, Chair. Land adjacent to Kings North, quotes unquote, Charnel Street, High Houstow, Rochester. Recommendation is for refusal. Grounds 1 to 3 as set out in the report. I so move.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Those for the officer's recommendation for refusal?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Councillor Shock, you can't vote because you weren't here for the beginning of the presentation. So I should have said that before the vote. Apologies.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Right, the application is therefore approved. Refused, sorry. Refused. It's refused. So now we're going to move on to agenda item 7, land to the north of Stoke Road. Aaron Nichols, Senior Planner, will be presenting this application. So over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start my presentation, can I draw your members' attention to the supplementary agenda again, as 10 further objections have been received in relation to this application. This application seeks outline planning permission with all matters reserved for the construction of 75 residential dwellings, alongside the demolition of the existing equestrian structures and the VHF transmitter on site. And the application is being brought to committee as a result of the number of objections received and an objection from the Parish Council. This slide shows the site location plan, the site outlined in red. Here we can see the application site in relation to the wider context, with the existing settlement of Who to the west, Peninsula Way to the north, and the Kingsnorth Industrial Estate to the east, and the River Medway to the south. In regards to the surrounding developments, to the south is a recently permitted 100-unit scheme for Jones Homes, outlined in orange, whilst to the east is the recently permitted Esquire development scheme, which is over 3 parcels for 134 homes, and to the west, directly adjacent to the site, is the completed 65-unit home scheme by Jones Homes. Whilst the access is not being applied for at this stage, the application has been submitted with 2 illustrative layouts showing how access could be accommodated. Layout 1, shown here, would provide vehicular access to Stoke Road through the neighbouring Jones Homes development, and is shown here. Whilst layout 2 would provide a new access point from Stoke Road, shown here. This slide shows wider views towards the site, with images 1, 2 and 3 providing views of the site towards the south from footpaths and the public right-of-way. Image 4 shows a view towards the south from Roper's Lane, and image 5 provides a view towards the north from Yew Tree Lodge on Stoke Road. This slide shows views for the site along Stoke Road, with image 1 showing sites with the existing access point to the neighbouring Jones Homes site. Image 2 is looking towards the north, showing the existing radio transmitter, which is to be removed. And image 3 shows the existing access point to the public right-of-way across the site. And image 4 shows a view looking towards the west of Stoke Road. This slide shows images from within the site. Images 1 and 2 provide views from the west across the site, taken from the recently completed Jones Homes site. And image 3 shows the existing public right-of-way across the site. Image 4 provides a view looking towards the eastern area of the site. The application site is considered to be in a sustainable location within a 30-minute walk to the village centre and the bus stop on Bells Lane and Stoke Road. In addition, the recently permitted Esquire development scheme towards the east includes the provision of Cafe Community Centre and nursery, which would be within a 5 minutes walk. The following 2 slides show the outline design proposals for the site. It's considered that the illustrative layout plans submitted demonstrate that it's possible to achieve an acceptable layout and design for the number of units proposed, whilst respecting the historical features located on the site in the form of the Who stop line, which would run across, you can see here, which is proposed, and a pillbox and roadblocks which are located around here, which again are leftovers from the Who defensive stop line. This slide provides an indication of the street hierarchy of the scheme and shows the potential new pedestrian route alongside the existing Who stop line, which is the red dots. And the following 4 slides provide some indicative street scenes from across the site. Overall, the proposal is considered to be acceptable and is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions outlined in the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Now go over to Ward Member Councillor Pearce, who has 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Chairperson. Stoke Road in Hoo used to be a beautiful and quiet country lane with farming activities and orchards on both sides. But since 2016, we've seen the continuous erosion of local identity, with intensive development destroying this attractive part of the village. First, we had Taylor Wimpey's Churchview Phase 1 development of 130 houses. Then we had Phase 2 with an additional 200. These were followed by approvals for an Esquire development of 50 houses, a Jones Homes development of 50 houses, another Jones Homes development of 100 houses, and of course, as mentioned, another Esquire development of 130 houses. The scale of intensive development along Stoke Road so far, around 700 houses, equals the same size as the village of High Housetown, all built along a single country lane. Stoke Road, once the beating heart of Hoo's farming community, has been totally destroyed, just like what happened over the past decade along nearby Bells Lane. Bells Lane is an absolute nightmare for both pedestrians and drivers, and is an accident waiting to happen, as no sufficient road safety improvements have been made to this road whatsoever. We are seeing the same mistakes happening again with the intensive development of Stoke Road and zero improvement to the immediate highway. I have been actively reporting my concerns about the situation to Medway Council. Some sections of Stoke Road only have a footpath on one side, while in other sections the footpath isn't even wide enough for a pram or a wheelchair. I think this is completely unacceptable in this day and age. As far as I'm concerned, footpaths along Stoke Road aren't legally compliant, and I have requested a road safety audit to be carried out. But despite asking for updates about this, I haven't received any response about when or if this will ever happen. I should mention that the applicant Jones Homes has today outrageously chosen to fell a mature English ash tree opposite the application site. This beautiful tree, located at the frontage of Stoke Road, was beloved by so many, including the customers of Jones Homes who live opposite in Walnut Tree Grove. The applicant stated last June in writing that this tree would be retained, so I am shocked about this broken promise. Members of this committee need to be aware of what has happened today when considering tonight's application and any promises this applicant is once again making. Many residents are of the opinion that any promises made by the applicant aren't worth the paper they're written on. Before voting to approve yet another housing development along Stoke Road, adding to the development pressure residents are already feeling, I encourage members to reflect very carefully on the decisions this committee has made previously. As a resident of Hoo, I must tell you that what is being allowed to happen along Stoke Road is sadly an accident waiting to happen. This opinion is shared by many villagers that I speak with every day. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Now going over to members. Any members? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got a few concerns on this application. Any more development in Hoo, as the local council has mentioned, there's been lots of development, and I think this could be just a little bit of overdevelopment. But also it's putting more traffic on the roads, because being a rural site, it's going to be reliant on vehicles, and it's going to put more traffic on the road. Now, we've got problems on Four Elms Hill already, which is the only on and off to the peninsula. So this is going to cause even more traffic problems in that area, and also there's an air quality issue on Four Elms Hill with this development add to. I always noticed that Natural England has stated since this application will result in a net increase in residential accommodation, impacts on the coastal special protection areas and Ramsar sites may result from increased recreational disturbance. Although there's a 106 payment been agreed, I don't know if money you know, would mitigate any damage done to that thing. So there's a few things there. Also, their local services, the doctors' services is already undermanned, and the public transport service is not very good. I've experienced the 191 myself, so I have got a few reservations about this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Golvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be supporting this application. I think with the existing buildings and the VHF mast on the site, it's almost a brownfield site. Perhaps we could call it a light brownfield site, I don't know. It's adjacent to existing developments, and this one's not doing. Yeah, I'll say the 75 units will make a good contribution to our housing numbers. It may be grade land, agricultural land, but however, if we are to build the amount of houses that we need here in Medway, we will have to accept there will be some loss of agricultural land. There's no other way we can do it. When we had the pre-application presentation by the developer, I was impressed by the way they respected the Who stop line, which is a historic feature, and also were happy to hand the pillbox over to the parish council, peppercorn some. So I think I don't know, John, have you killed these things? I think I'll say I will be supporting and leave it at that for the moment till this thing stops behaving itself.
Councillor Filmer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Galvin has said some of, I will not repeat what he's been saying. So at the presentation, we were a bit mindful about the footpath that runs from the site into the middle of Who, and that will be very well used because the surgeries and the shops and everything else, and the officers were going to look to see if we could do some enhancement more to the width of the pavement or what we can do. So I totally agree with Councillor Pearce. It needs looking at. It is dangerous in places.
Aaron, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, so I will cover off, apologies if I miss any bits. So first of all, the applicant isn't Jones Homes. It's a separate applicant. It's not Jones Homes. And as Councillor Golvin said, as part of a local plan, obviously there is the loss of some agricultural land. And on the air quality condition, we have on air quality, we've got condition 26, which requires the submission of the air quality mitigation statement. In regards to the footpath and access into the site, myself, and I know Dave has as well, we've both kind of I've walked in the site multiple times, I've dealt with a few applications within this area. And I will say, upon one of my walks in, I followed a lady with a pushchair who was able to push the pushchair all the way along. There is at one point where there's like a small grass verge, which is a bit further along, where it was a bit flooded and a bit muddy. But all the way along to basically where the current Jones Home site is being built out, there was adequate footpath for a pushchair and someone to be able to safely cross around without going into the road. And obviously improvements have been made along the road already.
Thank you, Aaron. Any other member? No? Oh, sorry, yeah.
I thought that was a very good question. I know we just had the answer. As somebody who used to work in care and push people along in a wheelchair, are you saying there's actually room if there was if somebody was coming the other way, so somebody's taking up the whole width of the path, say with a pram, are you saying there is safe space for somebody coming the other way to get round them?
From when I walked here, I'm sure Dave knows the area more, but if it was somebody with a pram and me without a pram, yeah, there was enough space for somebody to walk by. With two prams, is that what you're asking, or with a single?
Well, both actually, yeah.
Obviously, from my perspective, I only witnessed one person with a pram, but I did witness people walking by the other side. I didn't see them and I didn't measure fully, but from my perspective, I think there is adequate space.
Thank you. Any other member? No, okay. So there's desperate need for housing in Medway. This application will provide the 25% affordable housing that we really need as well. The site is allocated in the council's draft local plan, and unfortunately, to meet our housing needs, some agricultural land will need to be built on, so I will therefore be supporting this application. I now move over to Councillor Jones, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I wonder if after I've moved these recommendations, you might wish to consider a short break. There appear to be some issues with the microphones, and this might provide an opportunity to look at them as well. So land to the north of Stoke Road and east of Walnut Tree Grove, Husent-Wehrberg, and the recommendations approval subject to A, the applicants entering into an agreement under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act, Roman numerals 1 to 18 as set out, and B, conditions 1 to 31 as set out in the report. I so move.
Is that seconded? Thank you. Those for? Those against? The application is therefore approved. We're now just going to take a short 5-minute break. interrupted tonight's planning committee. We're now going to move on to agenda item 8, planning application for Chatham Town Football Club. Sorry. Can members take a seat, please? Sorry. Peter Hockney, Service Manager, will be presenting this application. So over to you, Peter.
Good. Lovely. Thank you, Chair. This application relates to the site outlined in red on the screen in front of members currently, and is part of the Maidstone Road sports ground in the area which a number of years ago used to be the grass tennis courts that were alongside the boundary with the cemetery. Currently, there is a grass football pitch in that location, and it's adjacent to there's a hard surfaced pitch adjacent to it with a sort of gym facility there that you can see on the aerial photograph again next to it. There's Chatham Bowling Club in this location, and then obviously Chatham Town Football Club ground and clubhouse as part of the overall sports ground. The application is an application by Medway Council for the introduction of a new sports pitch. You can see the sort of layout here to do with a sort of, the markings are for a five-a-side football pitch and also a basketball pitch, or court, not pitch, isn't it? The elevations here that again that you can see show the recessed goal areas provided for the football element and the fencing surrounding the proposed pitch. There are 4 8-metre high LED floodlights proposed, and you can see these in the corners of the pitch there. The signage indicates that it would be an online booking system to secure the pitch, which would then grant users access to the pitch via a gate code. And here's some artist's impressions of the pitch, with, as I say, the goal and the basketball court above. Here's photographs of the existing grass pitch on the site, and obviously this would be an upgraded proposal and an upgraded facility available for users of the sports ground. In the middle photograph there, you can see the existing hard surfaced area, a sort of a pretty rudimentary multi-use games area without fencing. So this will again offer another option for those users of the facility. Beyond there, the hard surface court is again the sort of outdoor gym equipment there, which again exists. To the right of that photo is where the bowling club is. These are the views from Bourneville Avenue, with the trees in the foreground forming part of the sports ground and its surrounds, with the location of the proposed pitch in the distance there. In terms of the floodlights, as I say, those are 8 meters in height. there's only 4 of them. And in terms of the light spill plan, it's not significantly outside of the bounds of the pitch, and certainly not of an effect that would impact on the nearest residents, which are obviously in Bourneville Close in this location, and those residents over here at Kitchener Avenue, where it joins Palmerston Road and runs through. There are floodlights on the existing bowling club that exist at the moment, so floodlighting in this location wouldn't be a wholly alien intrusion into the wider park. I'm excluding the football ground from that because I think the football ground is quite different in its character in terms of that element. I think you're looking at much more of a sort of an informal area in this location here. So subject to the conditions which are set out on the papers, these do include hours of use operation and indeed the flood lighting specifications. We consider that the proposal is acceptable and wouldn't result in any planning harm that would warrant refusal. And we are recommending approval be granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Now over to members. Councillor Field.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that presentation. I wholeheartedly support this proposal. I think this is probably part 4 of 4 planning applications that are all interlinked and around the use and provision of sports facilities. So obviously we've had the John Fisher sites, the 2 of them that Sports England objected to for loss of provision of sports facilities, and the pitches next to the 4 on the new proposal. And actually looking at this in the round, this proposal helps to mitigate that loss of previous sporting facilities. And also one of the issues I can see in some of the objected hours, when actually you've got the football club there, and actually those matches go much later than the proposed hours of operations here. So I can't see any reason that there would be significantly increased detriment to local residents and for the overall community for our needs to provide sporting facilities. And the fact that we've independently been cited that we don't have enough sports pitches, I think it's really good and positive to see this proposal come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Filmer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I totally agree with Councillor Field. Just in case I didn't wholeheartedly agree with you and get it right. It's a facility that is certainly on the up, and it's good that we're promoting this sort of thing. The ones that we've done recently where we've had a bit of a problem with the lighting, it's very important that we stick, obviously residents are concerned about floodlights. I know previously over the years when tennis courts have been given planning permission and then there's been a big hoo-ha over the lighting, but I think if you use the proper specification with the down lighting, having read the officer's report about the other flood lighting in the area and the street lighting, providing we stick to the specification for the lights with the down lighter type, quite happy with the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Golvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having met up with the Football Foundation several times in the last 12 months or so, because we're trying to get a 3G pitch up at Lordswood, the Football Foundation said there is quite a severe shortage of all-weather pitches here in Medway. But the nice thing about it is they're not only pointing that out, but they are actually helping to fund these new facilities here in Medway, which I think that's very positive. I mean, and if the public health benefits of having good facilities for our residents is overwhelming, and this weather we've had over the last few weeks certainly shows there is a need, because nobody would want to attempt to play on a grass pitch with the weather we've had over the last few weeks. So I think this is a very good thing. I know that local residents did express concern over the light spillage, but I think the officers have covered that quite adequately, and I, wholeheartedly welcome this. It's a good move.
Thank you. Councillor Williams. Sorry, Councillor Gilbourne.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I fully support this application. It's going to be great. And I'm saying that partly because of experience of living in that area until about 9 years ago. And I used to take my dog there most days. So it's going to cut down the amount of dog walking space. But my only concern was about antisocial behaviour, because it was an area which was not just scruffy, but sometimes you'd go down with your dog and not sure what you'd find in the morning that's been left there. I didn't even realise there's a tennis court originally there. So this will be a big improvement, but there's the antisocial behaviour aspect that I'm concerned about, but also with that, I couldn't read anything in there if there's going to be CCTV outside the area, just to try and alleviate the antisocial behaviour which might occur in that part of the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mandarakis.
So I had similar points around the lighting and the ASB, but I think collectively that's been covered. The only other question I wanted to ask is now left my head. No, that's not. Broadly, I'm supportive. I think we should have more sports facilities across. And if before we finish the debate, I remember what my question was, I'll re-indicate. Sorry.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Peake.
I just want to just double check. So just try and look through the report again. The concerns, one of the concerns raised was increased parking. Is this an issue as far as you're concerned? Officers, please.
Pete, did you want to comment on that?
Yes, certainly. I think in terms of the scale of the facility, to my mind, it's not one that's going to generate a demand from a significant distance. It's far more likely to be used by those within easy reach and walking distance of the facility. You have got, I mean, if I just go back to the scale of the pitch, it's a good facility, but it's not going to cater for a large number of people. So you'd be looking at sort of it drawing its demand from essentially the immediate local area. But as members are also aware, if people were to travel there by car, then there is the car park that's accessed from Bourneville Avenue in this location here. Obviously, that does get busy, particularly when there's events on at Chatham Town Football Club, but at times where there aren't events on there are spaces available within that car park. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mandarakis.
Thank you. So the only thing that I think hasn't been raised, I know it was said that this will be a bookable pitch, but I just wondered, it speaks in there around better accessibility and kind of equality of access to these spaces. Is there a charge for that being bookable? Because I think that kind of negates.
It's not explicit in the application. It's obviously a matter which is outside of the considerations of the planning application. But as I say, the applicant is Medway Council, so I'm sure members within their other remits can explore that option. Thank you.
Any other member? No. Oh yeah, just go over to Dave with regards to the CCTV.
Chair, I just wanted to come back on that because Councillor Gilbourne is raising an understandable existing problem regarding ASB. So it's not an issue which is brought forward as a result of this application. But what I'll do is I'll put those concerns that you've got to the relevant section in Medway Council so that they can look at what measures are necessary to deal with the ongoing issue regarding ASB. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, so any other member? No, it's all fine. Okay, so yeah, I will be supporting this application. It will be a good facility for the area, good for health benefits as well. So I now move over to Vice Chairperson, Councillor Jones.
Thank you very much. Chair, Maidstone Road, Sports Ground, Bourneville Avenue, Chatham. The recommendation is for approval with conditions 1 to 7 as set out in the report.
Is that seconded?
Move.
Yeah, those for the application. Okay, the application is therefore approved. Now moving on to agenda item 9, planning application for 66 Brompton Farm Road. Joshua Oddle will be presenting this application, so over to you, Josh.
Thank you, Chair. The application is for number 66 Brompton Farm Road, Strood. The application seeks permission for the construction of a wraparound part single, part first floor extension to rear and side, construction of a single-storey garage or storage to side of rear garden, and change of use of amenity land to vehicle crossover to front of new garage onto Strode's Close, of which would also involve the demolition of existing side garage and conservatory. This first slide shows the site plan. It's a 2-storey semi-detached dwelling within the urban area of Strood. To the south of the application site, you can see the highway of Brompton Farm Road, and east of the application site is the unclassified road of Strode's Close, and it's a residential cul-de-sac. North of the application site is a designated countryside, metropolitan greenbelt, as well as area of landscape local importance. These show site photos to the front of the property. Photo 1 and 2 are taken from Brompton Farm Road and show the dwelling of number 66 to the left and the road of Strode's Close within the centre. Photo 3 is taken from within Strode's Close and shows the side elevation of the dwelling of number 66, along with the strip of grassed public amenity land. This slide shows site photographs to the rear. Photo 1 and 2 show the rear of the dwelling, along with the existing 6-metre deep single-storey projection and recessed garage, along with the relationship to the attached neighbour of number 64. Photo 3 shows the wider rear garden amenity, of which is generous in size and supports an existing shed outbuilding to the rear boundary. These site photographs show the outbuilding within the rear of the plot of number 66. Photo 1 shows the existing outbuilding or shed. Photo 2 shows the utilities to the rear of number 66, as well as countryside views beyond that, to the north of the application site. Photo 3 shows the west elevation along with the outbuilding of number 64. Photo 4 shows, again, Strode's Close and the abutting grassed strip of amenity land abutting number 66. And then this slide shows photographs within Strode Close itself. Again, this is an unclassified road and residential cul-de-sac with dwellings set back by nature of their front hard standing, drop curbs of dwellings within Strode Close, as well as the rear bounding agricultural land north of the application site. And then We can also see within the centre photo the 2 metre high boundary treatment fence of number 66. This slide shows the proposed block plan, which we can see the the side and rear extension of the dwelling and the rear garage, along with access onto Stroh's Close. This slide shows the existing and proposed floor plans, which we can see the depth of the proposed single story is equal to that of the existing rear projection, as well as the first floor aspect of the rear is set within the plot 2.6 meters from the adjacent neighbor of number 64, as to not appear overbearing or as a two-story flank elevation from number 64. This slide shows the existing and proposed roof plan, and we can see that the side extension is set back from the principal elevation, 700 millimeters. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and then this slide shows the existing and proposed elevations. Again, there's a load ridge line for the side projection by 1 meter, as well as a setback previously mentioned of 700 millimeters. Yeah, the first floor projects 3.4 meters from the rear wall of the existing dwelling, as again set back 2.6 from number 64 at the shared boundary. And then again, the single-story rear projection is 6 meters in depth and lower than 3 meters in height. And then this slide shows the proposed outbuilding, which is to the rear of number 66. It measures approximately 7.4 meters in depth, 5 meters in width, and 2.9 meters in height. And then here is a proposed elevation from within the street of Stroh's Close. Again, we can see, as it is illustrated, it's a very brief development along the public amenity land within the Stroh's Close, as well as the adjacent agricultural land also supports field access and a drop curb. Yeah, well, in summary, the proposal is considered acceptable as the dwelling extension is subservient and adheres to the pre-established building line to rear. The first floor aspect is set back from inside the shared boundary as to not appear dominant or overbearing and not impede outlook. The north orientation of the rear gardens is such that the existing dwellings would overshadow the proposed development, and generous gardens otherwise allow for retention of sunlight to the mid and rear of the garden amenity. The outbuildings within Brompton Farm Road are also large, and the proposed would not be significantly above that allowed by Class E of permitted development rights, although it is slightly taller, but again, due to its rear sighting and the adjacent outbuilding of number 64, this is not a concern. The drop curb again onto Stroh's Close does not require planning in itself, as the road is unclassified and solely to be determined by highways. The change of use is minimal nor out of character of a residential area, with the use of the garage to support a single parking space. A condition is also to be recommended to be attached for the proposed hard standing to the front of the proposed garage, which is set in, I think, 200 mil or such, to be permeable material. Yeah, that's everything.
Thank you, Josh. Now over to members. Any members? No. Okay, well, I can't see any reason to refuse this application, so therefore I'll be supporting it. And now move over to Vice Chairperson, Councillor Jones.
Thank you very much, Chair. I move approval of the application with conditions 1 to 5 as set out. I so move. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Thank you. Those for?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Williams, do you hand up? Councillor Williams.
Councillor Williams, do you have your hand up?
That's 15.
The application is therefore approved. Now moving on to the last presentation of the evening, agenda item 10, planning application for 56 Darnley Road. Josh Oda will be presenting this again, so over to you, Josh.
Thank you again, Chair. This application is for 56 Darnley Road. The application seeks permission for the formation of a crossover from Dark Close to the rear garden of 56 Darnley Road. This will require the replacement of part of the rear fence with a new double timber gate to gain access to the new hard surfaced parking area within the rear garden. The proposed parking area would in part replace the soft landscaping to the rear with a hard standing sloping to local land levels and framed by a wall plinth upstand to exposed edge. The proposed rear hard standing measures 6 meters in depth by 4 meters wide. Proposed vehicle crossover measures half a meter deep and 4 meters in width onto an unclassified road. This first slide shows the location plan. It's a 2-story end of terrace property which fronts grassed public amenity land and Darnley Road to the front and relies on street parking. To the rear, the property supports a private garden amenity with the unclassified road of Dark Close abutting the rear. This slide shows site photos of the rear garden and crossover. Due to the nature of the works, I have not provided front photos. So again, photo 1 shows the rear garden of 56. Photo 2 and 3 show the rear boundary of close bordered fence within Dark Close along with on-street parking. This slide shows site photos from within Dark Close itself. Again, we can see on-street parking and garages already existing within Dark Close. This is a slide of the block plan, again, an end to terrace property. This provides a plan of the existing and proposed site, which shows the proposed hard standing access, of which measures within guidance set out by highways, and then the works of the hard standing are minimal with the grassed character and soft landscaping largely retained within the proposal. This slide shows the existing and proposed sections. Land level changes again are minimal and the rear boundary treatment of close bordered fences otherwise retained in the proposal. In summary, again, the hard standing would not be above or beyond that which is expected within a residential area, as it only accommodates a single vehicle parking space and fronts upon an unclassified road and cul-de-sac, which would not experience the same stresses as a through road. Although the proposed crossover is within guidance set out by highways, the highway of Dark Close is not a classified road, and as such, the vehicle crossover is not subject to planning. A condition is also recommended to ensure the proposed hard standing is formed of a permeable material or provides suitable drainage arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you. Now over to members. Any members? Councillor Field.
Yeah, it's just I walk past this every day to and from school, and I can't really see that there's going to be much traffic impact as stated by the objections. So, sensible one for us just to go and approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Golvin.
Yes, likewise, I've got no problems with this. I'd just like to point out I was pleased to see condition 3 there, where a permeable material or drainage is required, because certainly as we seem to be in a period of our history where we're getting increased rainfall, it's becoming more important, because certainly in my own ward, ironically, in one of the highest points of the ward up at Dargis Wood, we have a significant problem with surface water flooding, and the main cause of that is that there are so many paved over gardens and drives with no drainage, so it all goes out to the highway and then to the lowest point, which is some poor residents' front room. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member? No, I can't see any reason to refuse this. I also believe that it comes under permitted development as well, doesn't it? So now going over to Councillor Jones, Vice Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I move approval of the application with conditions 1 to 3 as set out.
Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Those for?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Unanimous.
The application is therefore approved. Thank you, officers and members. That is now the end of tonight's planning committee.
Members, if you can just bear with me two seconds, because on the last 2 applications, I could have dealt with them under delegated powers in consultation with the planning spokes. I brought them to committee so that Josh can get some experience in terms of presenting to you as part of his growth as a planner. So thank you for bearing with me, and apologies, Josh, for putting you through it.